I never thought I'd be in this situation, questioning everything about my marriage of 3 years. My wife and I have always been that couple everyone envies, the ones who finish each other's sentences and can't seem to get enough of each other even after years together. She truly is my other half, and even now, in the middle of this mess, I can't imagine my life with anyone else. Before we got married, we had what I thought was a crystal clear conversation about children. I didn't want any, and she agreed. It seemed simple enough at the time. We built our life around that understanding, focusing on our careers, traveling when we could, and just enjoying each other's company. We were careful, too. She had her implant, and I used protection most of the time. Everything seemed perfect. About a year and a half into our marriage, she brought up kids again. It wasn't even a conversation, really, just a random question one day asking if I wanted children. I said no, just like I always had, and she just hummed in response. I didn't think much of it at the time. Looking back now, I wish I had paid more attention to that moment. Last week, everything changed. Her bookshelf broke, and I wanted to surprise her by building a new one and organizing her books. While sorting through them, I found her old journal from college. I couldn't help but smile when I saw it. This wasn't just any journal. It was her manifestation notebook where she planned out everything she wanted in life. Back in sophomore year, she showed me how she'd mapped out her entire academic journey, right down to her doctorate. I remember being amazed by her attention to detail and clear vision for her future. I started flipping through it, expecting to just reminisce about our college days. Instead, I found something that made my stomach drop, a recently added section about pregnancy and baby preparation. There were carefully researched notes about prenatal vitamins, local OBGYNs, and even pictures of baby furniture. It was only 2 pages, but those pages turned my world upside down. My mind was racing. She wanted kids. After all our discussions, all our agreement, she wanted kids. I kept telling myself I'd been clear about what I wanted, that if she'd changed her mind, she should have told me. But then another thought hit me. Had she been silently suffering this whole time, holding back what she truly wanted just to make me happy? When she got home that evening, I confronted her about what I'd found. That's when everything really fell apart. She admitted that, yes, she did want children, but claimed she wanted our relationship more. She said not having kids wasn't a deal breaker for her. I kept pushing, couldn't understand why she put something that wasn't important in that special journal of hers. Then she dropped a bomb that shook me to my core. She had an abortion a year and a half ago. She told me this like it was supposed to make me feel better, like it was proof that she meant what she said about children not being a deal breaker. But all I felt was devastation. I lost it that night. In all our years together, I had never yelled at my wife like that. I didn't touch her. I would never do that, but it wasn't pretty. I was hurt beyond words that she hadn't talked to me about something so huge, that she went through such a significant procedure without telling me. What killed me even more was that I hadn't noticed anything was wrong. Those procedures have side effects, right? She must have been in pain, both physically and emotionally. How could I have missed all the signs? Now that I think about it, I remember her asking me about wanting kids around that time, but I can't recall anything about her emotional state during that week. Some husband I am, right? I mean, I still don't want children. That hasn't changed. But I would have rather done anything, even raised a kid, than have her go through something so drastic alone. Especially now that I know she isn't completely against having them the way I am. I couldn't handle being in the same house after that conversation. I needed space to think, so I want to stay with my sister. It's been a week and a half now. I want to see my wife to ask if she's okay, but I don't know what to say or do. I'm still incredibly angry at her for not telling me, at myself for not noticing. I don't want to lose my temper again. I think I scared her pretty badly the first time, and that's the last thing I want to do. My sister thinks I'm being petty, that I'm punishing my wife for something I would have agreed with anyway. But that's not true. I wouldn't have agreed. This isn't about the abortion itself. It's about the trust between us. How could she not tell me? How could she go through that alone? When I posted about this online, people had all sorts of opinions. Some said I should have gotten a vasectomy if I was so sure about not wanting kids. But here's the thing, I'm 27. While I'm certain I don't want children now, who knows how I'll feel in 10 or 15 years? Vasectomies are marketed as permanent, and while they can sometimes be reversed, my insurance doesn't cover reversals. It just didn't make sense to do something so permanent when we were already being careful with birth control and condoms. Others accused me of snooping through her private journal. But they don't understand. I've known my wife since we were 6 years old. We've experienced most of what's in that notebook together, and she's been letting me read her entries since college. The journal wasn't some secret diary. It was something we shared. I had no idea she had added new entries about pregnancy planning. That journal was always about her big life goals, things she was determined to achieve. Finding those pregnancy planning pages there meant this wasn't just some passing thought. It was something she really wanted. Some people even suggested I was being controlling or abusive because I got angry. But they don't get it. We both grew up in homes where yelling was normal, where fights got ugly. Because of that, we'd always promised each other we'd handle disagreements differently. This was the first time I'd ever raised my voice at her, and I hate myself for breaking that promise. Finally, after all that time away, I went home. We sat down and had the longest conversation of our marriage. First thing I did was apologize for losing my temper. She's especially sensitive to yelling because of our backgrounds, and I needed her to know how sorry I was for that. She forgave me, but asked that we keep things calm this time. Then she wanted to know what had kept me away for so long. I opened up about how finding those journal entries had affected me. I wasn't even angry at first, just confused and scared. We'd agreed on no kids before marriage, and seeing those carefully planned pages made me wonder if I was losing her. She tried to downplay it, saying not everything in her journal was something she actually wanted. Some things were just nice to dream about. But I couldn't quite believe that. I know her too well. She doesn't just write things down randomly in that journal. When we got to talking about the abortion, things got really heavy. She told me I was actually there the day she took the pills. I just didn't know it. I remember that day clearly now. She was crying, and when I asked what was wrong, she blamed it on cramps. I got her a heating pad and stayed with her. I should have known something was off. She hasn't had bad cramps in years because of her birth control. But I just didn't connect the dots. The hardest part was hearing why she didn't tell me. She said she was trying to protect our relationship. She knew my stance on kids and abortion and didn't want to burden me with having to choose. But that explanation just hurt more. To me, it meant she didn't trust that I would support her, that she couldn't count on me when things got tough. What kind of marriage is that? I asked her over and over if I'd ever given her reason to doubt me, to think she couldn't lean on me. She said no, which honestly just made it harder to understand. She mentioned being afraid it would change how I saw her, how I saw us. But I couldn't help wondering if there was more to it than just insecurity. At one point, we started talking about our wedding vows, the private ones we shared before the ceremony. She remembered mine word for word, which kind of shocked me. We ended up reminiscing about all the times we'd had complete faith in each other, and somehow that helped. It didn't fix everything, but it reminded us of what we have. We're doing okay now, not great, but okay. Everything's still raw, and we both break down sometimes when we talk about it. She doesn't want couples counseling right now, and I'm not sure if it would help anyway. What we did agree on was a new rule. No more running away when things get tough. The most space we can take from each other is the distance between our upstairs and downstairs. If things get really bad, we agreed on a maximum of 48 hours away from home. No more week-long stays at my sister's place. I still don't understand everything about what happened, and maybe I never will. But I do know one thing. There's still so much love between us. Neither of us wants to throw that away. We're both hurt, both trying to figure out how to trust again, but we're doing it together this time. That has to count for something, right?